when you first start, when you get into NASCAR for the first time, everyone obviously has their presenting sponsor. Yours was Budweiser. Was that like pretty clear cut, easy to get done?
Yeah.
Or were other people trying to get you before?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't involved. I was so young, and my dad was doing the wheeling and dealing in the background. And he, the Bud deal that we did that at that time in 2000 was $10 million a year. It was the biggest deal that anybody had. They were coming from Hendrick Motorsports, where they had been for quite a while. And so that was pretty unique, because Hendrick Motorsports, as I would drive for them down the road, they're a real well-respected company. And so to kind of pull a brand like Bud from them that Bud was taking a chance on me to be good. And so it was really cool. I remember August Bush rides into our shop on with the Clydesdales and the dog on top of the Bud, the big wagon. And the stagecoach, whatever that thing was, and they roll into our shop, and he comes down, hops down. August Bush, the guy that owns the company, shaking my hand, and man, I remember going to the brewery or the business downtown in St. Louis and walking through there, and just being amazed to be connected to such a massive, iconic brand back then.
Did you ever get to influence like a decision with them sponsoring you?
Well,
like anything creatively?
No, not really.
With the car?
No. So,
hey, bring the vintage cans back.
No, the one thing. So they were funny because there's some healthy competition between Bud Light and Budweiser and all their other brands. Like they compete inside the business, and kind of like teammates, racing teammates competing against each other, but it's healthy. Right, raises everybody up, and you don't want to get beat by your teammate. You want to be the best teammate, right? And so there's a little healthy competition inside the business with Bud Light and Budweiser. And so I went to them one time. I didn't know about that. I went to them one time. I said, it'd be cool. I was like, what if I drove a Bud Light car one race? I always drive the Bud car every week. What if I did a Bud Light car? I think that'd be cool. And they're like, hell no, you're never running a Bud Light car. They're like,
shut it down immediately.
Yeah, they were like, no.
That does sound crazy. Yeah. I think of it as just like Bud Heaven, just like the big
together,
bro.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
I think, we met with them in New Orleans during the Super Bowl, and I think I said something about Budweiser and Bud Light to one of the guys, and they kind of looked at me like, we're not going to do that.
No.
And I was like, yeah, for sure.
Okay. And the other thing that I learned from them that was really, I've hung on to this. I don't know, right or wrong. I thought this was, hey, they're successful, so I'm going to believe in this idea. Is they rarely wanted to change the way the car looked. They loved the continuity, and that you could look out in the field from the grandstands and immediately see that car, and it looked the same all the time. And they love that continuity of the car being the same. Whereas today, there's different sponsors, your favorite driver's driving a different looking car every week, and it's tough to sort of follow along, and there's no equity built up in a look of a car, right? But man, when I drove Budweiser, like, you can show fans this car, and they're like right away that triggers their nostalgia, and they're like, oh man, that was my car, because I ran that car and it looked like that for 5, 6, 7 years, and we never changed it. They just we would bring them all kinds of ideas, and we did some one-off stuff with baseball and other people here. They had an all-star car, and they did some music stuff with different bands. But for the most part, like, they didn't want to change the look of the car too much. I adhered, like, I kind of like believe in that idea of building equity and continuity in a brand that in the way it looks. Like, I don't mind modernizing a logo, but it's got to still look like the original.
Yeah, it's got to have some tie.
Right, yeah.
Well, just like you're saying, like, if a casual fan goes and watches a NASCAR race and they're able to point out a vehicle that they've seen before, that's like, them feel like they're more a part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I know. They feel like they know a little bit more about the race now, everything. But if you're changing colors, like when we were at your shop, it seemed like you guys had a different paint scheme for everything. That's the way
modern NASCAR today, everybody runs a different looking car because you need so many partners, so many sponsors. You can't have like one sponsor that can fund the entire season. So we have to run a different sponsor almost every other week. But like, if you look back in the history, everybody remembers the Black 3 car. Dad had the same sponsor for many years. Jeff Gordon in the Rainbow 24. You remember those cars because they were in that same car every week, every year for multiple years, and they built a they built equity and value in that. You know, they still lean into that today. So we do too. Like I ran this car, this little late model stock car. I ran it at a place called Florence, South Carolina last November. And man, we unveiled the idea that we were going to do this, and people went ape shit and just bought right into it. Right. And all the people started, you know, everybody on social media sharing stories about their experiences of watching, you know, the cup version of that car back in the 2000s run and where they watched it race. And it was really a great experience.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever have, like, in your racing days, where you might have finished like 12th or middle of the pack and it felt like a big win?
Oh yeah. So there's this one race I always talk about. So it's always great to celebrate the wins, obviously, but I'm sure y'all had games where maybe the overall outcome wasn't what you were looking for, but you had there's moments, right? Maybe it was a sack or an interception or something like that, or you just had a great game that nobody's gonna remember but you. There was a race at Martinsville, North Carolina, or Martinsville, Virginia, probably 2004, 2005. We start the race, big crash in turn one. I'm in it and tear the right front off of my car and damage the back of the car. There it is right there on the screen. So by the time we got the car kind of repaired and able to get back on the track, that's what it looked like. I'm out there getting ready. It's like 5 laps into the race. It's a 500 lap race at this tiny little bull ring. And I get back out there and I'm like, God dang, this is going to be a long day. My car's wrecked. It's not going to be competitive. I'm going to be in the freaking way all day. This is going to suck. We get to running along there. Nothing's really happening. But as the laps start clicking off, start passing a few cars, start going by a few more guys. My car's feeling good. Guys are getting worse. And I'm just starting to move. I drive through the field all the way up into the top 10. I'm like, shit, we're good. This car's great. And I drive up into the top 10. I spin myself out right here underneath the 12 car. Have to go right to the back of the field again, drive right back to the front. Ended up finishing like 4th or 5th in the race. I'm in the photo as we're coming off turn 4, battling for the win. I'm there, right? And you know, I just always, somebody made me a custom die cast of that car. It's like the size of this thing that I have in my collection. I got a little modest collection of custom shit. And so somebody made me one of those. And I'm like, this is like my favorite race I didn't win because of all the shit that went wrong and how bad it should have been. Mm-hmm. But we just didn't stop trying. And the car actually was badass. So the fact that the fender's missing, it kept the right front tire cool and allowed the tire to really outperform everyone else who had a tire that had a big fender on it that was in there getting cooked by the brakes and the engine and everything else. And so the fact that my car's out in the wind actually was an advantage over the long course of the day. And that's why the car, I think, actually ended up being really more competitive than it should have been. But
there's obviously rules and regulations of like how cars are supposed to be set up and all that. But did you ever like think like, I wonder if there's a way like a tearaway, kind of like the pants.
We talked about
right,
that,
like, to where you can clip it if it's like a disadvantage.
Maybe just like hit the wall real quick and it just kind of clips off. You're like, all right, babe, boys, it happens. That's the cost of doing business.
With the pads, you take out certain parts of your shoulder pads to be a lighter.
Michael Bennett used to do that. He did that last little pad.
Yeah. There's an advantage if you lose the tailpiece of the car. NASCAR won't let you run that. NASCAR makes you come down pit road and reinstall the tail if the whole tail comes off, so the back bumper. If that back bumper being on there creates a lot of drag underneath it, air comes from under the car and gets into the back bumper. So if that were to come off, that's kind of an advantage in some scenarios. And so NASCAR makes you reinstall that. But after this happened, I joked with my teams for the rest of my career, like, hey, when we go back to Martinsville, you know, if the front fender falls off, it's okay. Like, don't, you know, if there's a reason
give why that Tom Brady nudge, like, hey, the footballs are actually better when they're deflated. Not telling you what to do, but if we could have a little support there, I wouldn't be mad.
Why is Dale driving into the wall? There's a process.
One, like, he's acting a little weird, huh?
Yeah.
Just so when you went back there, you're kind of hoping.
No, I just knew, and there was a picture of a guy named Harry Gant, and he won that race in 1981 at Martinsville, and he had damage on the right front. The right front tires exposed. He won that race again in 1991 with the right front fender completely gone. Same guy. And then probably a handful of years ago, I think Martin Truex Jr. or somebody else ran really well with a lot of damage and some in the right front tire, or the right front tire, I think, exposed. And so, I mean, it's kind of common knowledge now, but you can't build a car to where the shit will just fall off for you.
Yeah.
They'll catch you.
Yeah, it would be tough to do that.